Hi, this is Ward Hammond. AI can optimize your path, but it cannot choose your direction. And that distinction between path and direction may not be the most important thing to understand about living well in the age of intelligent machines. There's a thinker who understood this more clearly than anyone I've read. He never owned a computer. He never saw a large language model. He survived Auschwitz. Auschwitz. His name was Viktor Frankl. And I believe what he learned in the worst conditions human beings have ever endured is exactly what we need to hear right now. Here's what I observe in the professionals and the people I work with. They have more capability than ever, more tools, more speed, more output, and a quiet, persistent sense that something is missing. Not information, not productivity, meaning. The feeling that the work they're doing is connected to something that matters. And the direction they're moving in is actually worth the movement. AI doesn't create this problem, but it intensifies it. Because when a tool can do more and more of what you thought made your work significant, the question of why you're doing it becomes harder to avoid, and most people are avoiding it. Frankl spent years in Nazi concentration camps. He lost almost everything. And what he discovered in that extremity was this: the last human freedom, the one that could not be taken away under any circumstances, was the freedom to choose your response, to decide what meaning to assign to what was happening, to orient yourself down or toward a why, even when how had been stripped away entirely. He called this the will to meaning, not the will to pleasure, not the will to power, the will to meaning. And he argued that human beings do not just want to feel good, they want to feel that their lives matter, that what they are doing is connected to something real, that they are moving toward something worth moving toward. And here's why I keep returning to Frankl in this AI age. AI is an extraordinary optimizer. You give it a goal, and it will help you reach it faster, more efficiently, and with more apparent thoroughness than you could manage alone. It cannot tell you which goal is worth having. It cannot decide what looks good, what looks authentic, real. It cannot locate the why underneath the what. And if you use AI to optimize a direction you have never meaningfully examined, you will become very efficient at moving towards something that may not deserve your life. Not a productivity failure, that's a meaning failure. No amount of tool sophistication will solve it. Now, Frankl described something he called the existential vacuum, the experience of inner emptiness that results when a human being loses contact with meaning, an existential crisis. He saw it everywhere in post-war society. Shell shock was the term they used. People with comfort, with freedom, with options, and a deep restlessness underneath, because having options is not the same thing as having direction. I think we are headed towards a version of that vacuum at scale. Not because AI is evil, because AI makes it very easy to be busy in the absence of purpose. I liken it to doom scrolling. I think back and I would compare it to desktop publishing. Back in the 80s, 90s, we used Macintosh computers and laser printers and software like PageMaker to create newsletters and publications and books and you name it. So all of a sudden, everyone was a publisher. Everyone was a writer and a publisher. And so there was a lot of good things produced. And there was a lot of junk. The AI slop that you see. But back to this. It makes it so easy. And you can generate cool things with very little thought behind them. Very little you. To produce in the absence of meaning, to move very fast in a direction you've never stopped to examine. And this is why I stress meditation. The tools are neutral, but the human being using them is not. And this has been the history of tools since we picked up our first stone or stick to help us defend ourselves or perhaps gain some food, to other givens in the human condition. And if the human being has not done the harder work of orientation, really getting to know the subject, the efficiency the tool provides will amplify that drift, not direction. Must do your homework. You must be thoughtful. That's why I unplug every day. So I have time to process all the input from my day before I hit the next. Here is the connection to this month's theme. Embracing possibility is not the same as embracing every option. You have to know how to say that. Real possibility, the kind worth embracing, is not random. It is oriented. It opens in the direction of what you care about most and what you are actually called and drawn toward. Of what would make your life feel at the end like it was worth living. Argue that meaning is not invented. It is discovered. You don't make up what matters. You find it by paying attention, by listening to what your life is actually asking of you, by staying in contact with the why, even when the how is uncertain. And that process of discovering meaning, of orienting toward what genuinely calls you, cannot be delegated. Not to a coach, not to a system, not to a language model. It requires the presence, the kind of presence that only a person can bring. So what do we do with this practically? What does this mean to me and you? For me, it means one thing above all others. Keep the orientation questions in the room where AI is not. And let me explain that. Before you use the tools, before you optimize the path, before you accelerate the execution, before you scale it, spend time, unhurried time, contemplative time with the question Frankl thought was most important. Why does this matter? not why is it useful, not why is it strategic, not does it matter. What is the connection between this work and the life you are actually trying to build? If you can honestly answer that with some honesty, then AI becomes genuinely powerful. It's like a super assistant. You just have to ask good questions. Be curious and ask good questions. It's so powerful. And now, because it is now in service of a direction that is real, if you can't answer it, no amount of optimization will fill in the gap. You have to be able to tell it what your ideas are, what you've done, what you're seeking, what are the obstacles, what have you tried, how long has this been going on? Geez, sound like Dave Sanders. But Viktor Frankl wrote that life expects something of each of us, not in a vague, inspirational sense, a specific, serious, personal sense. Your life with your history, your capabilities, your relationships, your moment in time, your life with your history and your stories and your capabilities, your relationships, your moment in time is asking something of you. And the question is whether you are quiet enough, present enough, and honest enough to hear it. AI can help you answer, but it cannot do the hearing. That is yours. And in the age of artificial intelligence, machines, protecting the space in which that happens, that hearing happens, may be the most important thing you do. That's why I unplug. If this kind of thinking resonates with you, the intersection of wisdom, traditions, lived experience, the technology we're navigating, subscribe. I publish here weekly, and I also write a daily reflection, meditative, and the first thing in the morning. And what I do with that one is pretty cool. I pull from Bloomberg, Hacker News, and Scientific America, and I look for the overlap. And that's how I select what to talk about. Anyway, those on Substack, the main way, or that's where I'm going at this point, is to have people subscribe to Substack. And you can do a subscription, and you can tip me, basically, but none of that's required. This is called the mendicant model. I'm just putting it out there, and if it resonates with you, that's great. If you would like to support this practice of mine, then you can do that too. See you next time.